I know some people will argue and say, hey, it's not a bad idea to run a single tube because then you've got one eye that's adjusted for your night vision, another eye that's adjusted for your actual natural environment around you. If you listen to what Larry Vickers likes to say, our buddy there, he prefers to go 100% one way or the other. Your eyes can adjust in enough time to make sure that you can see, or if they don't, you got white light, or at least you should. Welcome back, everybody. Clint today with Classic Firearms, here to talk about helmets. Helmet setup for night vision, for, everyday practical use or every night practical use. And I'm going to go ahead and start talking about my Guard Dog body armor ballistic helmet. This is level 3A. We have shot the ever-living crap out of these helmets, and I have been very impressed, to say the least. And that's with all of Guard Dog's body armor. So I trust it. I've shot at it a lot with armor piercing, with stuff that it shouldn't be rated to stop, and it still does. And even this helmet, let's see, 12 gauge, buckshot, 9mm, 45, 357, yeah, all sorts of stuff. Yeah, I mean, we cratered this thing, right? And we threw it up in the air, used it as like pretty much a clay pigeon, except more of a Kevlar pigeon. And so it's taken shots both in and on the outside, but nothing actually went through and penetrated, which is really impressive. Again, we've shot it all over the place. So yeah, I trust it, okay? So with that being said, how do I have mine set up? Because we've talked about making this video for quite some time, and I'll be telling you right now, I am balling on a budget when it comes to this helmet setup. Pretty much, I do not own the night with my single tube, but I can see better than those who don't have any night vision, so there's that, and I'm going to talk about how I've got it set up. So let's just go ahead and roll right into it. First of all, yes, I do have a AGM Global PVS 14 green night vision. Nothing fancy about this guy whatsoever, other than allowing it for me to see a little bit better in the dark than those who just have no night vision or, white light. So, okay, cool. Now, a lot of people start looking at this and be like, why? Why do you need that? Why do you think that this gives you, well, it definitely gives you an edge, again, over those who can't see, so there's that. But why? Because simply, I want to. And nobody should tell you you shouldn't, right? Or they can tell you that, that's their right, just like it's your right to give them the finger. So just roll with it, have a good time, go into debt, and be able to see in the dark when they can't, right? The PVS 14, however, is one that I've trained with since 2011 when the first time I wore nods, and that was at combat training out at Camp Lejeune, and it sucked because they didn't fit it to your head. You were just walking around, you couldn't see anything anyway, so it was pretty cool taking almost, 10 years later to actually start playing with it and getting it set up right, so that way I can see, right? So what's the point though? It's called night vision. It's so you can see at night. It's so you can run your guns. That, again, you have to kind of couple it all together here, because if you don't have the right equipment, you're not going to be able to do what you need to do. If you're just running iron sights on your gun and you're running nods, you'll find out really quick that trying to see your sights and also get sights on target, it's going to be very difficult for you. And at that point, just go white light, right? But if you can couple this with nods and IR, now all of a sudden you're in a whole different ball game, and you'll have that advantage. All right. So let's talk about the helmet setup real quick, and then I'll talk about how the different uses and what all other technology I have to make this work. Okay. So first of all, PVS 14 Wilcox J-arm. How do you connect the optic itself to the actual mount that allows you to see that is also connected to your helmet? This is the Wilcox G24 mount. Just simply clips in to the actual mount that's on your helmet. Really easy to do, and to take it out, you'll notice most of your ballistic helmets, bump helmets that are set up for night vision will also have these bungee retainers. That's just so that way if this thing gets popped off, gets knocked off, it has a breakaway feature that when it falls down, you don't lose it, because you should be using this at night, and if this breaks away from your helmet, as it's designed to do, if it gets caught on a tree branch or a doorway or something like that, instead of breaking your neck backwards, it breaks away. You would like for this to actually maybe be hanging somewhere that isn't getting stepped on by your teammates behind you on the ground, or out in the woods and you can't find the thing anymore. Because if you've ever looked at how much night vision is, it's not cheap. Even the cheap night vision isn't cheap. All right, so yeah, having the little bungee retention straps is a nice feature. On this here, you're gonna see I've got this little button on the side here. You just push that one way or the other, and that allows this to pop right off. Easy day. That's all there is to it, okay? So the PVS 14 single tube is just mounted to one J-arm that just screws in right to the natural mounting point for the actual tube itself. And the J-arm allows you to mount to the actual Wilcox G24 mount. It utilizes, there's two different types of mounting systems, by the way. There's bayonet and dovetail. This is a dovetail mount, probably because it looks kind of like a dove's tail, if I had to guess, right? Anyway, you're gonna notice on the G24 mount, all of this is actually pretty lightweight until you start combining it together and then putting it at the front and top of your head. Now all of a sudden you realize it gets kind of heavy kind of quick. Anyway, slides into place and just clicks right in. Not gonna go anywhere, pretty neat feature. It's just simple, easy to use, right? Okay, cool. I'm not gonna go into a whole lot of detail about what all the mount can do, but just know that this thing is customizable to the point where even if you're cross-eyed, it's gonna line up for you, which is pretty cool. There's a lot more budget-friendly optic, or I should say, night optic devices out there for mounting that don't allow you to have as much, what's the word I wanna look for? Adjustments, okay? Some are good, some are bad, but one that I can tell you right now definitely has been proven is Wilcox, the brand in its entirety, and also the G24 mount. Okay, so again, you can adjust how far away it is from your face. If you want it closer, the angle in which this thing will sit. You have a little dial here that does that number for you. It can swing either way as well. It's kind of funny, but anyway, just like that. So if you want to go left eye, right eye, you can do that. Or if you wanted to bridge this thing, you could. What does that mean? I've done this and I decided I didn't like it. I do have the bridge mount for two PVS 14s. Now all of a sudden you take your two single tubes, you make it one dual tube. That gets very, very cumbersome and very, very heavy. Some people like it, some people deal with it. Personally, I'm gonna go with the single tube right here because that's a lot more comfortable for me. I know some people will argue and say, hey, it's not a bad idea to run a single tube because then you've got one eye that's adjusted for your night vision, another eye that's adjusted for your actual natural environment around you. If you listen to what Larry Vickers likes to say, our buddy there, he prefers to go 100% one way or the other. Your eyes can adjust in enough time to make sure that you can see, or if they don't, you got white light, or at least you should. Okay, I see that, and once I can afford that, then I'll get there. Thanks, Larry. Anyway, so the G24 Wilcox mount with the J-arm and a single tube PVS 14. That's what I've got for my night vision setup. Remember how I talked about weight? Things are about to get heavier. Because now, instead of the helmet, once you add all that weight to it, it starts to tip forward. And that becomes very, very annoying. So I've got an Ops Core counterweight. Even more weight. Yes, believe me, if you start running night vision, you're gonna realize really quick just how uncomfortable your helmet probably is and how little neck muscle you actually have. Especially if you're running drills, you're doing like any type of training that goes on for 30 minutes. 30 minutes of nonstop shooting, 30 minutes of not removing your helmet. You will find out really quick where those pressure points are on your head and just how uncomfortable you are and probably how weak you are. Believe me, I found out too, okay? We all go through it. So, I don't know, do whatever type of neck, exercises you gotta do, or just wear your helmet and night vision around and that'll get you used to it. But I'll talk about comfort here in just a moment. So anyway, back to the Ops Core counterweight. What this allows you to do is have a little bit of extra weight on the back end, so that way this thing doesn't want to keep riding forward on you. Now, it might not be that big of a deal once you get this helmet on, you tighten it down on the back here, and you've got this thing completely adjusted for you until you start moving around. You start running, you start maneuvering one way or the other, quickly turning your head. You realize it will shift on you, and if this isn't fit for you, then it's gonna be either way too tight and cause all sorts of migraines and headache, or it's gonna be way too loose and just going all over the place. And if you're trying to line up your eyeball to your night vision so that way you can see either passive or active aiming, which we'll get into in just a moment, put it this way. If you ever looked down a magnifier or a scope or a telescope or anything like that, you have to make sure that your eye, you have correct side alignment. You have your eye where it should be to be able to see through that tube, no matter what it is that you're looking at. Scope, telescope, magnifier, same type of theory and same type of mindset has to take place with your night vision. If this isn't completely in line with your eyeball, then you're gonna get scope shadow. In a sense, it's not like the same. It's just if you're not completely aligned, then you're not gonna get a perfect circle. You're gonna get some shade here, and that's just because you're not looking directly through the middle of the actual device. If you don't do that, you're not gonna be able to get a whole picture, and if you don't see the whole picture, you might not be aware of what's going on. You might not be able to see your IR downrange, or if you've got this on your dominant eye instead of your non-dominant, you're actually trying to look through your optic itself, you won't be able to find your reticle there. You're not gonna be able to get sights on target. You're not gonna be able to get shots on target, which is the most important thing, and you're just screwed. So you've got to make sure your gear is comfortable and fitted to you. If it's universal, I gotta be honest with you, if you have a universal gear setup, it's probably not gonna be right. Make sure that it is set up in a manner that you can use it, what's comfortable and efficient for you. If you want to take a friend to the range to try it out, make those adjustments at that time, and then go ahead and make sure you put them back to what's good for you, because it's not going to be your friend picking up your gun when they're not even around to defend you in that situation. Just keep that in mind. Okay? All right. Anyway, cool. So PVS 14, Wilcox G24, Wilcox J-arm. We've got the Guard Dog level 3A ballistic helmet. Yes, it stops bullets, which is a good thing. And on top of that, the Ops Core counterweight. Tactical Night Vision Company, Hardhead veterans, all these guys have this type of product, which is awesome stuff. And you're also going to be wondering too, well, how does it mount? It's super easy. There's Velcro all over the place. But if you're running the arc rails, which are these rails that you see right here that I attach lights to, that I attach ear pro to, or whatever else you want to attach to it, you can. Well, cool. All you have are these screws that hold it in place. You got a screw here and a screw up here. I don't think there's anything in between. It's super easy to install this counterweight. Unscrew that screw, put in this clip, same thing on the other side, and then this just straps right in, like you see right here. There's those straps. I'll have to line this all up once I take it off and put it back on. And you'll notice you've got some metal in here. Got some lead weights that are coated, so you're not just exposing yourself to lead all the time. But there you go. That right there comes in at about 0.85 pounds. It doesn't take a whole lot to get that counterweight where you want it, but it's also going to depend on the type of optic that you're running. If you're running some GPNVG, some quad tubes, dual tubes even, you might want to step up your weight game just a little bit, so that way, again, it's more balanced out, right? Again, depends on you and what works. But anyway, that's all that takes to actually get that installed. Again, it's held there by Velcro. Once you get that kind of in place where you want it, these just slide right on in to tighten down. I'll have to put this back when it's more, I guess centered. But for now, just so you guys see, it's very easy to do. Put that there, fold that up, fold that down. Cool, and that's almost centered. Sweet, easy day. Okay, awesome. Furthermore, you're probably looking and saying, hey, we've got some other things on here. Let's talk about Ear Pro. Safety, right? Ear Pro, because if you've got all this cool setup and everything, you can run simple in-ears without having to, worry about this. But I actually really like running the external Ear Pro on the helmet itself because it actually helps keep things in place too. If you get a good clamping system for your Ear Pro, what you'll notice is once I put this on, I'll loosen this up. The harness system in here, I'll show you guys how this all works. It tightens down, which is pretty neat. But I'll go ahead and loosen it up. I'm going the wrong way, aren't I? There we go. Okay. And tighten it back down. Going one way or the other. All right, now before I even put the chin strap on and decide to even think about tightening this down, you'll notice, right, it's actually not all that tight, but I don't even have to worry about too much. As you can see right now, I do have just the harness itself tightened down. And then if I continue going, I typically have to find my actual, there we go, keep that in place, lock that in, and boom. That's pretty solid. It's not gonna go anywhere. Obviously I don't have the night vision on there, and you might be able to tell it's actually kind of pulling back a little bit, and that's because of that counterweight here. So, don't have the chin strap on, but you already see there's a little bit of movement. Let's go ahead and pop this off. We'll put the night vision back on so you guys can see how it's supposed to be. All right, loosen that up, go in the right direction this time. Cool. So the Ear Pro I like I said, simply because for one, it's always on your helmet. If you have your helmet, you have your Ear Pro. You're not gonna forget it laying around somewhere, which is, again, nice. All right, let's pop this guy back into place. Again, that just locks right on in. Just out of habit, I'm gonna go ahead and throw on my bungee straps, just in case this thing, falls off while we're, it won't fall off while we're in here, or I forget that I have it on my head and I've been down to get something under the table and I whack my head on something. Remember, Ballistic, cool. All right, so again, talking about the Ear Pro, you won't forget it if you've got it on your helmet and you always have your helmet with you. Go ahead, do this little number and tighten down. Just keep on tightening that until it's pretty much got a good grip on your skull. By the way, the PVS 14 by AGM does come with the Skull Crusher mount, and it's not great. It's not comfortable. It's not a good time. It allows you to actually wear your night vision without having to have a host like a helmet or whatever else, but it does suck. All right, I will say that. Cool. Go ahead and flip these down, pop these into place. Make sure they're lined up, covering your earballs. And I am ready to rock and roll. Again, there's a button right on the side of the G24 mount right here that allows me to flip this down. Sweet. And yep, I am all set. This thing is on, it is working, and you'll notice that this cap right here, you might be able to tell, has a little hole right here. This is a daylight hole. This is a training cutout that allows you to actually, in daylight, still be able to use your optic or your night optic without having to worry about too much light coming through and not being able to see much of anything. If you want to be able to zero your IR or whatever it might be without having to wait till nighttime or go into a really dark room, you can still do all of that, which is a pretty neat feature. Switches right back here that allows you to adjust whether or not you have just regular night vision and also an IR illuminator. There should be a red light shining somewhere that shows that I have the IR illuminator on. Now this actually throws out an IR light. It's fake light, look at it that way, that allows me to be able to see in complete darkness, because night vision doesn't allow you to see in complete darkness. Without any type of ambient or radiant light, it won't be able to amplify that light coming through and allowing you to actually see that as the shooter. So an IR illuminator is a good thing to have in that case. So that way, if you find yourself in complete darkness, like this warehouse that has no windows, when all the lights are off, it is dark. Like hand in front of the face, no, definitely not. Won't be able to see it. And even when you turn the night vision on, it gets really grainy. It's not a clear shot or a clear image that you're receiving. All of a sudden, you turn on that IR illuminator, and it's like, oh, dang, I can actually see in pretty decent clarity, even for some basic Gen 2s that these are. Right? Cool. So the Ear Pro that I have on here are the Peltor sound traps. They're not expensive. They are, again, just about everything on this is the budget-friendly option that I decided to go with. So anyway, PVS 14, a lot of you guys think I'm bald, and that's why I always wear a hat. And then anytime I take the hat off or I do a whole video without a hat on, that's what the comments are all about, is the fact that, oh, wow, Clint, never mind what he's talking about. I just can't believe he's not wearing his hat. So I'll just, okay. Anyway, thank you guys. All right, so the Peltor sound traps, really basic, simple hearing protection. They're not the most comfortable things in the world, but they are affordable and they do work. I've shot a lot of guns with this setup right here, inside of buildings. This guy unsuppressed in a indoor range, 25 yards, running all sorts of cool night vision drills and stuff like that. Range at Ballantyne, we get together every so often and do that. It's pretty fun. But anyway, even with this being unsuppressed in a concrete room, these do a really good job at blocking that sound, and my ears aren't ringing for days afterwards, so that's a pretty nice thing. The only thing I really don't like about it is to replace the batteries on these. Take this guy, you literally just take your inserts and you just pull out, you gotta get kind of violent with it, and there you go, just a couple of AAAs, and then really cheap foam that goes in there to protect your ears from all the electronics happening, and then you just push this guy back into place. Doesn't really matter which way it goes or anything. Like I said, it's not the best in my mind, but they work. Also, I do find myself having to replace the batteries a lot because these little switches that turn on the Ear Pro are very easy to hit. And I'm not gentle on my gear. I will literally take this, throw this in a big old Pelican box, throw my Mark 18, throw my battle belt, throw my body armor in there. All right, cool, have a nice day. I come back, next thing you know, this was left on, and now I've got I've got audio and sound dampening happening, electronic sound dampening happening in my right ear, my left ear. I'm not getting anything. So I'm like, oh crap. So it's just still basic ear pro, so that's cool. It's not like they have to have battery power in order to work and protect your hearing. No, but it is kind of weird though when you can only hear out of one ear. It's kind of like, I don't know, being deaf. So there you have it. Okay, so how do I get the actual ear pro connected to the helmet? These 3M connectors for an arc rail, that's what this rail is called here again, the arc rail. These 3M connectors are super easy to install. You get the ones that are actually set up for Peltor, and you're ready to rock and roll. These just clip straight to the little earmuffs, and that's honestly that. It's a really simple installation. Again, they're definitely overpriced for what you pay and find them on the internet for. It is what it is. Anytime you consider anything with helmet, ear pro, if it has the name Peltor on it, usually people like to jack up the price. I don't know why, because they also make really budget-friendly ear pro also, like really just basic foam inserts. So whatever. But even still, these things are just, they're for a little piece of plastic and some metal wire. Doesn't seem like it should be as expensive as it is, but again, it is what it is. You'll also notice too that mine's broken. So right over here, it actually came out the box this way, but it hasn't actually prohibited me from being able to use these. And honestly, I want to keep running this until something breaks, to the point where I can't use it anymore. And then I'll give my feedback on that. But anyway, the 3M Peltor connection for the arc rail, this little guy just split right here. These do allow you to kind of move, in and out and go up and down. So it is a nice feature that these are, again, customizable to you, and that they actually stay in place, which is pretty cool. All right. Cool, so ear pro, definitely recommend it. What else do I have on the arc rail? This little guy. This is a neat little dude. This is the Surefire Sidewinder stock. It is a white light, infrared, colorful light that allows you to have all sorts of different customization. And I'll show you guys exactly how this works. First of all, it can slide right into the arc rail itself, or sometimes I'll actually choose to use this. All this is a Velcro adapter that allows you now to pop that into place. That's all that is. It comes with it in the box, which is a nice little feature. We've got these on the website. This thing's really cool. If you don't want to use the little set screw that it comes with, you can honestly just pop it in the arc rail, and it is easy enough to take in and out under friction. As you can see here, just pop that back in. But I like to use the screw because, again, I'm rough on my stuff. If you screw this in, get that lined up to one of the actual slots here for an arc rail, and you can actually just tighten that into place. Use a flathead to tighten it down a little bit more. Now it's not going to come out on you, which is, a nice thing to have if you don't want it to, fall out. But if you don't really care, and you use it as a hand light, boom, there you go. You can take it off your helmet, throw it in your cargo pocket when you're done, because I doubt you'll be able to line this up to go right back into the arc rail perfectly, but whatever it is a feature. But if you want to go hands-free, this is a really neat thing to do, and it's intuitive. So first of all, look at the controls on it. Power button right up top, and you'll notice for the IR portion, because this in itself is an IR illuminator. Again, throwing that faux light, as I like to call it, that allows you to see under night vision in complete darkness, which is a cool thing. That is raised. If you start to get a feel for this thing, you'll know that, oh, okay, well, since this piece is raised, it might be difficult to fill under a glove, but to bare skin, I can know that's the IR marking, and now I can go ahead and move this to be facing forward. So now when I hit the power button, that's going to be IR. If you remember where these controls are, now you know if you rotate it left one click, now you've got color, and boom, this one's set up for green. What's cool about this too is if you hold it down, it'll actually increase in brightness, and then you just let off at how bright you want it. It will always go back to its lowest setting though, so that way if you ever go into whatever, it'll always just go back to the lowest setting. Look at it that way, in case you walk into a complete dark room and the last thing you had was brightness, and now all of a sudden you don't want to completely give away your position, it'll go to the lowest setting. Neat. But let's say you want to actually change colors because maybe for whatever reason, right? If you just click it 4 times and hold, it'll now switch between the other 2 lights that it has. So green, blue, red for all the totals. And then once you get to the light that you want, just let go, hold it down again for that brightness change, and you're ready to rock and roll. Double tap for that constant strobe, which again, different visual indicators for whatever you might want. Really cool light though, and it also does just have regular basic white light. As you can see here, hold that down. Again, it'll increase in brightness, which is really neat. And that's that. There you go. And it'll also do a little strobe thing too, I think, right? Yep, there it goes. Cool. So that's that. This is again, the Sidewinder stock by Streamlight. This right here allows you to orient the light in whichever direction you want. So again, just a really cool little guy in case you need that added white light without having to use the one that is on your gun or guns, depending on how many you might be carrying. Nice. All right, continuing on. Speaking of lights, you've probably noticed this back here. This is the Hellstar. This is more for friendly identification. If you're in a squad, you've got teams you're with or whatever, and you want people to know, hey, I'm the team lead. I'm gonna start walking up front. It's dark out and you might not be able to see me. Well, I can switch this on and all of a sudden there's a constant green light or a constant green with a strobe effect. So again, that also makes it easier for our air crew to be able to see us as well on the ground. And if you hit this little switch right up top, now all of that is happening again, but under infrared. It gets kind of weird though whenever you have like a near peer adversary that might also be using night vision. Then all of a sudden all of this right here, probably gonna give away your position. Which is why I'm a big fan of one other thing. This little guy. This little sleeve is a protector that goes around the eye. So that way whenever I have this down, and this kind of comes out just like that right there, what this ultimately does is if you are in darkness and you turn on this night vision, it will reflect green light back into the eye and also show that on your face a little bit. If you've ever looked through night vision, it will pick up very brightly. Even though it's not facing downrange, it is facing back onto the shooter or to whoever's running the night vision. You will find out really quick, like, oh, wow, that light, that little tiny light that's reflecting back onto my eye makes a really great target, and maybe I don't want this illuminated where my brain housing group is. So this little shield right here protects, as cheap as it is, will protect that reflection off of the face. So something I definitely recommend. All right, okay, cool. Now something you probably noticed too is like, what the heck is this? This is a little mask, balaclava, that allows you to put this on. And it just adds another layer between you and the helmet and the cushion that you have in there. And for me, it's just an added level of comfort. It feels good and it just makes everything a little bit more snug. I like that, and that's just something I recommend. All right, cool. So how does all of this work when it comes to utilizing the night vision? First of all, if you've ever tried to shoot your pistol with night vision and you don't have one of these, a red dot, you're gonna find out really quick, it's pretty much impossible. Now, for some people with the single tube, it gets a little complicated because in order to pick up the red dot, you actually have to look through it. And I always move from my dominant eye to my non-dominant eye, just like that when I'm shooting night vision. This becomes almost second nature. It feels weird to do it whenever I don't have night vision on, but when it's the only thing you can see under night vision, and now all of a sudden your target's being reflected downrange, you can see your target, you put this in front of you, you don't see your gun, you see the dot. It's pretty wild, it's pretty cool, but you gotta think, this is still an optic. The optic is focused for whatever your target's at. Typically that's gonna be an indoor room, something like that, and I like to keep it where my target is in focus. Everything else you do, your manual of arms, reloading, all of that is now muscle memory because you can't see. So if I wanted to drop the mag and reload this, here I am shooting. Say I've got that out of the way. Let's say I'm just using my IR, right? So let's just say I've got my visible green laser. You guys can probably see that's on right now. I'm shooting, pop, pop, pop. I go to reload. Literally here, right? Boom, done. And that's that. Your eyes, you can't fumble around. You might be doing this and now all of a sudden your eye's trying to adjust for, wait a minute, where's my, hold on, it's not gonna work. Everything goes to muscle memory. So get those dry fire repetitions in, get that manual of arms, all right? Same thing again with the red dot, and you've got a pistol here, you drop the mag, you insert, you've just got all your controls on the pistol. You're gonna have to learn it really, really quick if you don't. So there you have it. Now let's talk a little bit about active versus passive aiming. So the more I think about it, active versus passive aiming, this could be a subject that we do in its entirety, its own video. I know Matt and Kaya could definitely talk about it. Ryan, you could talk about it.
I would love to talk about it.
Yeah, I figured as much. This would be a cool podcast segment too, I think, actually. But anyway, so what is the difference though, right? Active aiming, you are actively, I look at it this way, you're actively using a laser, right? Boom. Okay, cool. Now, I won't use my green laser, my visible laser. I'll turn it on infrared, right? And this is, by the way, the Steiner D-ball. That allows me then to only see the laser under night vision. It'll be looking, again, just like that, but a little bit brighter under night vision, okay? This is also a IR illuminator, which you can dual that up, and it's, again, a whole different subject when we start talking about these a little bit differently. This is mostly about the helmet, but passive aiming, imagine that you're passing through the optic, right? That's how I kind of remember this stuff. Active, actively using a laser. Passive, I'm passing through the optic. If you've got yourself an EOTech or anything like that that allows you to have a night vision capability, then what you can do is swing over your monotube, or if you're running dual tubes, think about that. Swing over your monotube, and now all of a sudden you can look down the actual optic itself. This gets a little tricky for people because now you're having to aim or line up two separate optics. I guess 3 if you're considering your eyeball to be an optic, but your eye to the night vision now through the EOTech. If your gear is fitted correctly and comfortable and you are practicing, this won't be too difficult for you over a period of time, and it'll come up pretty quickly. Why would I choose active over passive or passive over active? Here's the biggest pros and cons to each. One of each. Pro, I can get that laser up really quick and on target, shoot, dead, gone. Cool. Pro to this, well, your enemy can see what you're aiming at and they can see this shining right back at them. It gives you away really quick, especially if they're under nods. This allows me to go ahead and get sights on target without them knowing I'm actually aiming at them. So there's your pros at the end of the day. I still prefer active, but I think this would be a good little, I think this would actually be a great little debated topic because I think Kaya actually prefers passive. So we'll talk a little bit about that later. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video covering, again, this is my basic, simple, we haven't even gotten into communications, radios, or anything like that. I haven't, to be completely honest, played with a whole lot of that, but I think that's something that we can start doing and need to do, especially as, you know, team tactics and communication is such a vital thing, especially in this age, that we should definitely talk about it a little bit more and get some hands-on experience with it. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. Do you think there are better devices out there, obviously. But do you think that there's actually better equipment out there than what I have here? The answer is yes, there's always a bigger fish, right? There's always something better. But for what I have right here, I'm very comfortable with it, love it a lot. Again, really quick, AGM PVS-14, Wilcox G24 with the J-arm, Sidewinder stock. I've got the Peltor sound trap optics with your 3M connectors for the arc rail. We do have the Hellstar right back here. That is your IR. It's a reflective device. It creates light so that way you can be seen. Sometimes you don't want to be seen, but you can be seen, all right? Counterweight, ops core right back here, or for your ops core helmet. I think I got this, this is an ops core design for your arc rail attachment. Just a basic, simple counterweight, which also I forgot to mention, these counterweights can also fit your CR123s perfectly, so there you go. Okay, cool. I think I pretty much hit on all of that. Guard dog body armor, level 3A helmet. Again, if you'd like to see some night vision type of stuff in action, or better yet, a night vision giveaway, let me know down in the comments. I think that'd be a lot of fun, especially if we hooked up one of our cameras to actually see in night vision, follow us around while we're doing some shooting and stuff. That would be a lot of fun, actually.